the Random Table Podcast. The Random Table Podcast proudly presents Revels Ruin, a homebrew campaign of mirth and mayhem created for use with Fria Ligan's Dragonbane. Starring Lou Gray as Nubs, the gnome fighter.
I have this romantic view of myself as the hardened warrior. I have a steak knife and a dream. I have left my cape to make my fame in my adventure.
Ryan as Ryder, the human merchant.
He inherited his little remedy shop from his grandparents, and he likes to be left alone. He's a young man, he'll make it, I guess. I don't really put much thought into it. I just expect I'm gonna die here.
Joanna Hayden as Loon, the green elf thief.
I think disheartened. I feel like that matches my character anyway, because she's very cynical. And hearing loud, boisterous laughter is not what we were expecting. I don't like to do town raids at all. I stick to the highway raids.
And Caitlin Gray as Vegal, the ogre animist.
Alright, random bullshit, let's go. So, Vegal is a 9-foot-tall, red-tinted skinned ogre. She basically ate enough to be the biggest, baddest ogre in the surrounding area. As I'm slamming my hands on the table, I push myself up, and I'm gonna head outside and see who's making all that ruckus.
With Hank Hayden as the game master.
You want to hear tales of Captain Burrell and his band of boastful brigands? I think we can accommodate that. Ryder, do you ever feel like running away somewhere?
Roots and shoots, boy, will you think a thought?
Quail interrupts him and says, still, it would be easier if we... And then Uncle Tan snaps, like you know he can do.
We need that iron for the wards. The stars are moving. The Fae will be crossing soon.
Episode 2. Under a Thievin Moon.
Welcome back to Dragonbane, everybody. We are doing our second campaign, and last time we got to meet all of our characters, and this time we're going to bring them all together in some nonsense. I'm very excited. With me tonight is Ryan.
Woo!
And Joe.
Hi.
And Caitlin. And Lou.
What up?
We're gonna just begin. I'm gonna throw you guys right in it. Loon, you give me a stealth roll.
Gonna kill me.
You got it.
First
Loon,
one,
you watched this human woman come out of the wrong shop and kind of listlessly walk across the street. You can tell she seems very dejected, very upset about something. As she walks across the street, she slams the door, and you kind of clock the sound of the door and go, okay, I need to be quieter than that. Because it doesn't wake anybody up. Everybody else seems soundly asleep, except for that one shop that has got the mortar and pestle on it, and you know it. You know that sign because on one of your town raids, you took some time to kind of rifle through the stock, and I think Ryder, you caught either Loon. It could be you, or it could be one of your people. So it's up to you. What do you think? This is another flashback where I want to build a bridge here and figure out what the connection is between you and Ryder. But I'm thinking that you guys live in the woods out in a camp, and you can't always get all the medicine you need. And so when somebody, either a young person or an old person, or somebody got sick, you needed the stuff.
Hear me out. It was Quail, and I hit him with a broom.
You just want to hit somebody with a broom.
It is true.
Double points if it's Quail, too.
Yeah.
That would be intensely satisfying if it was Quail. It would have knocked him down.
If I can't hit the gnome.
So
maybe that's why he's scared to go to town from last night. Because he was like, he rolled the demon. He's scared of this town for some reason.
Yeah. That would make sense. So here's the thing about my people. We have a rule that if you get caught you have to get out of it yourself. We don't help each other with that. And it's like our rite of passage thing. So it's like cute when you get caught for the first time because it's like, all right, here it is. You're an adult now.
I love
Figure it out. I think maybe if it was Quail, Quail's older than me and I'm 27. And so if it was his first time, he probably would have been really embarrassed about it and really angry for a while.
I love that.
So yeah, it was Quail.
I love that. So that totally explains,
Yeah.
that totally explains last time when he rolled his demon and got so, just like the consternation. That
Ryder's Remedies is now famous amongst your people.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it
Famous
is,
and infamous.
Yeah.
That's right.
and we also, it's just for Thievin. So like if somebody gets caught and we kind of keep an eye on them, because if it turns into a situation where they're going to be like executed, we won't let that happen. But you gotta escape. Get back to the woods yourself.
I love that. So you clock that the medicine shop is probably how you'd think of it. Quail ended up getting out of your clutches or getting away from you.
Well, yeah, I only have a broom.
And I think it's mostly that his pride has been wounded. Maybe it wasn't necessarily that you kept him under like capture, but
He was swept away by your power.
That's terrible. No.
Oh, if only it was a mop. I'm off the floor with him.
shameful puns,
Low-hanging fruit, I'm sorry.
which I love. Yes, so I think that you caught him in the act trying to steal. Ryder, you caught him in the act trying to steal some of your remedies, and you were between him and the door, so he was momentarily captured. It counts. And he had to, like, essentially grab the stuff and run, which is really undignified for Quail, because he's sort of he's the edgy anime character of the family.
But also nearly 40 years old. So.
Yeah. Yeah, because it sticks. So he's like that teacher in My Hero Macadamia, where he's just broody and in the corner and has the big scarf.
Isella.
I love him so much.
Is that Eraserhead? Is that
Yep.
Yeah. But I think, Ryder, once you looked at the stuff that was missing, and I'm not going to make you roll for this, but I am wondering, do you have healing trained, or do you have healing just the base level of healing?
Base.
So you make all the medicines, and you know what they're for, so that when somebody comes in and says, I'm having a arthritis flare up, or
There's
I'm
the
having,
pharmacist.
yeah, I'm having the runs, you can give them the right stuff with confidence. But you're not entirely sure. I'm not dignifying that one. That's it. I'm just continuing.
That was a table of people just staring him down.
Yeah. But Ryder, I think that when you looked at what was missing, it was definitely one of your stronger tinctures for people who are facing something devastating. So what was wrong with these elves? What did your stuff cure? Bearing in mind, yeah, exactly. Bearing in mind that this is a world-building thing of like whatever this disease is that we come up with right now is a thing in this region.
What if it's a poisonous plant?
Ooh. So they stole like an antidote. I like that. So this
Stinging nettle and steroids.
Yes. I'm writing that down. Hold on.
Grappling nettle.
That's
Now,
like
are these
5 ideas in
with
one.
nature elf type elves, or is this like they just happen to?
I think they're not
Iron
very
form
magically
plant.
oriented.
Yeah,
They're
not
more
just
like
not
Robin Hood
magically,
and,
but yeah.
and the Merry Men, where they're like, they have an encampment in the woods, they strike out and get their supplies and bring them back, and they don't take, and we kind of touched on it when Joe and I were talking about it, but I had the idea that they're sort of like borrowers. They don't want you to know that they're there, and they want to take what they need and not make any kind of impression on you.
But also, if they were plant-esque, there are plants that take over other plants. Parasitic plants.
Yeah, and like we live in the woods, and we don't. It's not like we have houses. We have like shacks and tree houses, but they're not anything comparable to the village. So we know how to survive and forage and hunt. And
That was more my question was like, how well do they know their plants and shit?
Yeah.
Obviously not that well then if,
unless it was a plant that came over in the last spill.
yeah.
Or if it's like Ryan, like you just said, like a parasitic plant. Maybe it's a very insidious sort of like an ivy sort of a situation where it starts killing the other stuff around.
And it could have been a kid.
I like the idea that it was kids too, because then it'd be like if Ryder was between Quail and the door with the broom, hit him with the broom, right? Beat him up because he's somebody breaking into your store. And then as soon as you see what he's got in his hand, you're like, that's only for one thing. And that thing is very bad. And then did your conscience
And then I
be
get
like,
one good hit on him and I let him go.
and then you're like, I gotta let him go because whatever he's going through is worse than.
Grandparents would have let him go. I would have let him go too.
And also maybe the medicine isn't worth a whole ton, and nobody in the village ever gets sick from that.
Maybe.
Like they never get nettle fever in the village, so whatever they're going through, they need it more than.
I think it was Quail's son.
Oh my God, Quail's got a kid.
Oh, he
The
fucks.
truth comes out.
His name, Quail's son's name is Chick, and he is 6 years old.
And so that night,
personalities,
he's double embarrassed about it because that night wasn't a raid. It was just him going to the village.
He panicked.
Back to the present. We've built that bridge and that connection, and I'll try to like zoom in on things like that as they come up so that we can build more, because this is fun to collaborate with you guys. Loon, you passed your stealth roll. You spot the smithy. It's dark. There's no smoke coming out of the chimney. The smith is asleep, and the forge is open, but there's, it's an open air sort of a building, but the forge itself is dark and cold, and doesn't seem like there's anyone around. You stealth over to the building. What do you want to do?
I'm gonna try and figure out where the iron that we need is, the weapons we need.
Give me a spot hidden with a boon, because nobody's detected you. You have time to look around.
I got one both times.
You got a 1?
Both times.
So this hasn't happened yet, so we get to do this. That's rolling a dragon. And a dragon is the best roll that you can get if you roll a 1 or a 20, a dragon or a demon. Whether that means you passed or failed, that skill that you just rolled, you fill it in. And at the end of the session, every skill that you have a little bubble next to, you're going to try to fail a test with that skill. You're going to try to exceed whatever your number is for that skill, because if it's higher, it goes up by 1. And so this is how you kind of level up your skills. So for rolling your dragon, Loon, you look around the forge for the crates of ore, and you know what they look like. And you spotted them on the back of the cart that was rolling through the woods. You got there late, or somebody gave away the ambush, or something happened to where it wasn't right for you guys to come out and actually take the prey. And you know that those crates have got that red and white symbol on it. You don't know what the symbol means, but you recognize the symbol. And most of the crates had like a tarp over it, so you're not sure how many there were, but you don't see any here in the forge. It doesn't make sense that the smith would keep them in his house, and the house is small enough that there's probably not room for him and his stuff and the shipment. But there was a lot on that cart, and none of it is here. But because you aced that roll, I'm going to throw a couple of treasure cards at you.
Ooh.
So that there is something here that you find. So I think I'm throwing these at you. And then you can tell me what you want to do with them. You find a coffer with some coinage in it, and you find the smith's just finished project. It's lying there on the anvil. It's finished. It's gorgeous. What is it? Roll that d6 and tell us what it is.
It's a scimitar.
Do you want to describe it, or should I?
You can.
So it's a wickedly curved scimitar, and it's got this grip on it of black-dyed leather. It is a weapon fit for a champion. It's a little bit smaller than the swords that you guys are used to, and it's not in the same style. So it must have been, specifically ordered to these specifications. You know the smith's work. This is the smith's work, definitely. It's got his maker's mark on it. But he never makes stuff like this. He makes the regular, straight, short swords, pretty stock guard and foot soldier sort of work, so that the militias and things in the county can get their own, or in the province, can get their arms and armor and things from him. But this is really nice, and it's got a scabbard made for it already from the leather worker in town, fresh, and it should be locked up somewhere. But for whatever reason, it's lying right here, and it is Thievin night. There's a Thievin moon up there. Do you want to leave his stuff or take the stuff?
It's not about morality.
Oh.
It's because it's about the worst case scenario the worst case scenario is that it's out because whoever it belongs to is close by and I could get caught. And the follow-up scenario is this would be worth a lot of money, but who's gonna buy something like this with his maker's mark on it from an elf? So we could steal it, but we might not even be able to get rid of it.
But you might also be able to use it. I imagine that you guys don't get to steal finished weapons very often.
No. But it's not the kind of weapon we would usually need to use, because I think we're mostly ranged, and then we have our daggers in case we end up close.
It does have less of a footprint, less of a presence than the bigger short swords.
Yeah.
So you could conceal it. It could be a sword weapon. I think you'd find a use for it without having to necessarily fence it and sell it to somebody.
Yeah. I think fencing it would be ideal, but
You'd have to take it farther away. Couldn't sell it here.
Yeah.
Could probably sell it in one of the bigger towns or cities in the province, though.
okay, I'll take the scimitar.
Take the scimitar?
Yeah.
Do you take the money?
If I can take all of them, yeah.
It's in a little wooden coffer, and you could put it in. You jingle a little bit. See how full it is. Roll those dice.
I did. It's 12 coins total.
Yeah. So the coffer's not full, so they would rattle around a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Can I take them out and put them in my pouch?
Yeah. You very deftly slide the coffer open, not a sound as you take the coins, and you hug it very close to your body in your pockets or whatever, so that it does not move around and give you a bane on your stealth rolls. Is there anything else you want to do here? You're looking around, you don't see the crates.
Yeah, my job is to scout and then call them, so I would call them with my loon whistle.
They're too far away at this point for you to see them, but since we're doing cinematic stuff for these first couple of sessions, the camera cuts over to the tree, and they all they all come down out of the tree, and but they don't make a sound, and they start Naruto running across the potter's field. They make it to the first building, and they do the same creeping and making sure, and Uncle Tanager is doing the sign language, elf sign language, has got to be a thing. Doing some sign language and calling everybody together. You see them all start to muster at the corner of the building across the way, and they're ready to advance. But Tanager's kind of looking at you for the signal of what do we do? He's signing to you across the street. What do we do? Sorry.
They're mustering, and you have to wait for them to catch up.
Jesus Christ. No.
I knew you were going to do that.
Night, everybody.
Minus 5 points. Even the dog groaned.
I can't take experience points away from your character in this system. But
Nub suddenly had a heart attack.
Nubs has an episode.
I signal that the crates aren't here.
He just gives you one of these big shoulder shrugs, where are they?
Did you think I know?
And you shrug right back.
Yeah.
I don't know, Uncle. I don't know everything. Fuck off.
I'm just a loon.
I'm just
loon.
You signal to Uncle Tan across the way and let him know that you have no idea where the crates could be. What's your next move, Loon? What are you going to do?
Either they need to come over to me or I need to go to them.
Yeah.
So
so that you guys can actually speak and form a plan.
Yeah, and I signaled for them to come to me, so.
Okay. So they look, make sure the coast is clear, and then one by one they start over to you. And just because I feel like it's very on brand for them so far, Scrub and Jay, as they cross the way, they fail their spot hidden roll as well, and they trip the wire around the circumference of the open forge. Because what smithy in his right mind would leave their work out and not have some kind of security system to make sure it stays there while they go take a nap? Is it Scrub or Jay? Who does it?
Scrub.
Scrub.
Being a scrub.
Living up to his name.
You see her run across.
His code name used to be Stellars.
Which one? I guess I didn't specify. So Scrub's the boy, Jay's the girl.
Sure.
Okay. So Scrub, you see him jet across the street, and you spot it as his foot goes down on top of the wire. And it pulls, and you hear a snapping noise, and it kind of zips up, and this net on top of the smithy with all of these, it's holding all of these pots and pans and random bits that need to be mended for the people in the town. All of the smithy's work, basically, is in this catch net up in the rafters, attached to pulleys. And the wire zips, and you watch it, the end of it, like a lit fuse, go up toward the rafters. It spins around the pulley, and the net comes down, and all the pots and pans and everything clatter around.
I love booby trap smithy man.
From the house attached, as the net comes down on top of you and Scrub, from the house you hear, what's all that? And from there we cut back over to the party going on outside the stables, with Nubs, and everybody's chanting your name, Nubs.
How long has it been since the first scene that I appeared in?
Probably 10 minutes.
Okay.
10, 20 minutes, something like that. Long enough for you guys to have gotten into some debauchery, drunken revelry, tail swapping. You now know that these guys are the roughest, toughest brigands and mercenaries this side of the mountain. And you are still kind of just in awe of the group, and especially of the captain, Burrell. He's this well-spoken, well-mannered hero, basically. He's a hero of the people. And you hear about all of the caravans he's guarded, and all of the goblins he's slain, and the troll he outwitted so that he could cross the bridge into the Henmoors and start working for the prince, and all these things. And he alludes to them, but he never really tells you what's up and what's going on. And maybe you don't care, but he stops mid-arm wrestle with you. And give me a strength roll.
Oh, I passed. I got a 3.
They're chanting your name. The rest of the band are chanting your name, and there's the biggest guy in the band. He's got like the stereotypical horned Viking helmet on, and he's got the big axe, and he's leaning on it, watching you arm wrestle everybody here. You beat him easily, and you've beaten several of the others.
I'm just trying to figure out how arm wrestling will work.
They
And
lay
you
on the
have
ground.
a 4-foot
and they
arm
stick their arm
and
out
a
like
3-inch
this.
arm. Because if I'm a 1.5 feet tall,
I think
my
that,
arm's like a baby stick.
yeah, exactly. I think that you are standing on the table that they're using. Like, they're using an upturned barrel as a table, and they're leaning their elbow on the edge of it, and they're letting you just stand and try to put all your weight against the hand. And like you,
So they're arm wrestling and I'm wrestling an arm.
Yes.
And you're like, oh, that's what that means. They're informing your worldview now. These guys. Exactly so. And Burrell has you on the ropes, and they're chanting your name. Noob, 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 noob,
no.
noob. Do you correct them, or do you let them say your name wrong.
I don't even realize they're saying my name wrong. I think they're saying noob because I'm the new guy in their group.
You're like, oh, that's so nice.
Oh, no.
It's a term of endearment.
They're cheering on the new guy. Oh, I love it.
And Burrell's got you on the ropes. You are leaned almost like fully back. You're in like Michael Jackson Smooth Criminal sort of angles to the barrel. And then he stops and he turns his head. All the chanting immediately stops. But I think that you're loaded enough at this point that you don't notice that they stopped. And you kind of like rip his arm down over the barrel, and the barrel topples over. Roll evade.
First, I rip his arm down over the barrel, and then I start humping it like Mini-Me and the Laser. And that's what knocks the barrel over.
Take that! Take that!
So I'm rolling evade.
Roll an evade for me, would you?
Got a 12, and my evade is 14. Pass.
You pass. As you're celebrating and getting raunchy with his arm, he pulls his arm away from you and he goes to like backhand you. And he gets this look on his face of just disgust. And it's only for a second, but it's like the mask has slipped and you've seen underneath it as he tries to hit you, and when you duck easily, and as his hand follows through, he just gives you one of these like hand waves, and he looks around, and all of the rest of the band are already grabbing their weapons and looking in the direction where he stopped and turned his head.
I'm completely drunk, so all I notice is that for some reason, like he got serious, so I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hump your arm, I was just trying to be funny, I'm really sorry.
And he just puts his fingers to his lips and he goes, shh, quiet, noob, listen. And you can hear somewhere off down the street, there's all these, narrow streets that fan out from where you're standing, because you're sort of in a courtyard area, but down the street, you hear all these like pots and pans and clattering of metal on stone, and it's making a huge noise. He looks down at you. He says, noob, pick up your steak knife. We have work to do. Everybody, that's an alarm. It's time for us to go and see what the trouble is. I'm sure that these guards won't mind. And he kind of tosses that over his shoulder at the sleeping guard. He's kind of like, sure these useless guards won't mind some help investigating that alarm. Come on, make yourself useful.
I grab my dagger that I'm so proud of, my steak knife, and I hold it over my head like He-Man having the power, and I just go running towards the smithy as fast as I can. To the rescue!
You're running ahead of the drunken mob behind you, and they're like, noob, 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 and cheering you on. And then you don't notice it.
Of course, I'm really drunk, so I'm not running in a straight line.
Of course. You're dipping and weaving when you should not. But you, Nubs, you are kind of going serpentine through the streets, and they're cheering you on and egging you on, and you don't see two of them at the back like whisper at each other, the two in cloaks. They just kind of whisper to each other, and then some silver exchanges hands, and your drunken mob boisterously marches down Merchant Row. We cut over to Ryder.
Oh, goody.
Inside your shop. And you're kind of mulling over the conversation and how it went with Demi. I don't know whether you feel any kind of way about it, but it does kind of bring into relief how much this shop means to you, because it is your family. It is your home. It maybe never occurred to you that you'd want to leave, but you do remember that delivery that came for you through the post a couple of weeks ago. You start to look around as you cross the room over to the bookcase. You have like that counter, and it's loaded with all kinds of stuff. There's barely room for money to exchange hands, but Behind the counter, you've got a bookcase, and it's kind of your space. It's where you put everything that's important to you and that you want to remember. And it's sort of a shrine to your grandparents. It's got their portrait there, and it's got this guidebook that was dropped off for you by the post. And they bring these to all the members of the Merchants Guild. It's a Merchants Guild periodical, and it has the stamp of the Guild of Merchants on the back. It is a red and white diamond with the scales on it, like the scales of justice kind of motif. It's become very familiar to you as business has turned into like having to pay dues to the guild, having to get these periodicals and give feedback on them if anything is amiss, which of course nobody ever does. And so this one is so shoddily done that the printer actually printed all of the editor's notes that were private to the writer of the pamphlet, and it just tells on the biases going into this publication. But part of it is sort of a tour guide for wagoners and travelers in the Henmoors. And you've lived here your whole life, but you've probably never seen the whole kingdom before. And I don't know if Ryder has ever seen the whole province before.
Definitely not. He maybe goes a couple miles into the woods and then comes right back.
Ryder's world is pretty small compared to everything in that wagoner's guide. You pick it up, and when you do, something falls out of it.
No.
Onto the floor. A little scrap of parchment torn off, like a corner torn off of something else. Some bigger parchment tucked into it. Do you want to pick it up? Do you want to look inside the guide, or what do you want to do? Why is Ryder looking at this thing? What's he feeling like?
We'll look at the little piece of paper.
You pick up the piece of paper. It's got a circle with a line through it, and then something written in some jargon, some code. Will you give me a language roll with a boon? Because I imagine this is like a merchant's cant, sort of a...
7. And my thing is 6.
There's a poem written on this, and a note to meet at the Old Boar Tunnel at the witching hour. And it says, we will be waiting. So there's this 2-line poem. And then at the bottom it says, Old Boar Tunnel, witching hour. We'll be waiting.
I put it back in the book.
You just gave me such a look at that, too. That was anxiety writ bold across your face.
No, you get my faces wrong. That was intrigue.
Oh, good. But you just shove it back in the book?
Yep.
And shove the book back on the shelf? How are you feeling when you're looking through this, when you're rifling through it?
Maybe it was always my grandpa who wanted me to take over the store, but maybe grandma just had that little bit of nudging, like, maybe I should go see the world, because I'm a young man.
You don't want to be stuck here.
I definitely do want to be stuck here my whole life.
I think that you would also know that there's been several, like, pushes, like the butcher's boy leaving and going to Haystack. Haystack to you is like the big city, the big time.
That's far away.
They have a new guild hall. They have everything there for merchants, especially. And so somebody can go there and strike it rich. Like, you're dealing in pennies and silvers here, and they're exchanging gold coins with the deals they're doing up there. But yeah, I think that you still feel like you're a little tied down to this place. As you're mulling that over, your eyes kind of pan across your little curio cabinet of memories and things, and you're remembering grandma sort of nudging you, saying, Ryder, you need to get out there, you need to see everything you can see and hear everything you can hear, and don't become old fogies like us and have no stories to tell. You have little ones, if you have grand ones, you need to have some stories to tell them. That's the thing I wish we could give you. She always kind of looked forlorn as she would say these things and then look down at her hand at a ring that she used to wear.
Oh.
And you pick up the ring now. It's
Oh.
kind of a plain pewter-looking thing.
Cheap metal.
Not super fancy. It does have this sort of vine motif around it. Very planty, very botanical sort of jewelry piece. You pick it up and think about Grandma. As you're doing this, you hear such a calamitous noise from outside your window. You look and you can see this gnome. And you don't have gnomes in Fox Hollow. I don't know if there ever used to be them, but you don't have a heap of junk outside your town where all the gnomes live and they come out to do terrible things to your garbage and recyclables.
Terrible things.
Yeah, but you see this shit-faced gnome just like tottering through the streets, shouting something unintelligible.
We are the champion. We'll keep on fighting to the end.
You barter fighter.
I'm a drunk.
I'm a drunk gnome.
I'm a drunk.
A good drunk. They're charging down the street. He is followed by these 6 people, travelers. I don't know what you'd call them, but they're the motliest crew. They're in all kinds of garb from all over the place, none of which looks particularly familiar to you. These are not the kind of plain workers' clothes and farmers' clothes that everybody wears around here. So they're not from around these parts. And they're following this gnome into battle toward the end of Merchant Row. And give me an awareness roll.
I hit a demon.
Did you really?
Oh,
Bubble
no.
it in. Bubble it in.
I'm bubbling.
You remember how I said your shutters were open?
Yep.
And then the window was open?
Yep.
And you could look out into it, and that's why it's so noisy. So the demon roll, as you're watching them pass, one of them looks right at you. Does that perspective shift look at the camera thing from the Godzilla film? And just goes...
Bold of you to assume I've seen a Godzilla movie.
Shame on you.
Where he's definitely looking down the street, and then as soon as you're watching, you're kind of oogling them, and you lean a bit too far out the window, mesmerized by this scene. Like, this doesn't seem real. Things like this don't happen in this village. As you lean just a little bit too far out your window, the big horned helmet stacked dude notices you, and he goes, and like focuses on you, and the camera shakes just a tiny bit, and you are paralyzed. You're like, what do I do? He's seen me. I can't go back in. Do I say hi? What do I don't know. He just drunkenly giggles. He says, "You're awake. Come join the party."
Oh God, no.
And he grabs you by your collar and lifts you, like heists you out the window.
Whether you like it or not,
It's happening again.
He hoists you up and plops you down. The very handsome man at the front of the group turns around. He's got,
I'd rather deal with that one.
short on the top and shaved on the sides.
No, I have shaggy hair.
Not at the very front. Front of this party. You're still going.
Congrats.
We hear you in the background. But the captain turns to you and he says, We're gathering recruits like dust. This is wonderful. Welcome to the crew. And he's obviously slurring and very loaded. He says, I dub you Steve. And Steve, you just joined the Vanguard. He kind of uses his sword. He has a big sword drawn, and it's a big two-handed fuck-off broadsword. He kind of puts the flat against you and nudges you in front of them all. Nubs, do you notice any of that taking place? Because you would not feel their presence behind you.
I'm oblivious. I am so sloshed. I'm the most drunk I have ever been in my life. I will probably not remember this tomorrow.
Then I think you arrive before the rest of the party. Nubs, when you reach the smithy, you see that there are pots and pans and broken tins and like kettles with holes that need patching littering the ground. It is Junk City. It's all garbage. And
So
something deep inside you
looking through the pots and pans
flicks.
and like trying different saucepans on to see if one's better than mine.
There's a couple shinier ones and there's a couple thicker ones. Or
So
what are you going for?
I want to look handsome and debonair, so I'm going for the shiny. I'm a knight in shining armor. So I try to find the shiniest saucepan there is and see if I can find one that fits my head well.
It It fits your head okay. The shiniest one is like polished. I don't know what it would be. Polished tin. They wouldn't have steel cookware necessarily, but maybe it's copper. Maybe it's
Shiny copper works.
Yeah, polished beaten copper saucepan. It's fits almost perfectly, but it's that kind of thing where it goes on at the right angle and then it fits perfectly. But then when you let go of it, it kind of tugs your eyebrows back a tiny bit. And you know you look suave now. Oh, yeah. You are upgraded now. This is fantastic. Loon, there's a gnome. He's rifling through the junk. You didn't know there were gnomes here. And you and Scrub are both caught in this net. It's got weights on it. And as you're both trying to tug it up from the ground, you see this gnome come right up to your feet and pick up a saucepan and put it on his head and like do a happy dance that he's found this.
He hasn't noticed us, and I'm not going to call attention to us. And I would not be tugging. I'd be pulling my dagger out to cut the net because that's a logical thing.
And veto this if you want. No, but I think that you had to have a place to sit and try on your new hats. So you like dragged them all over to Loon's feet, and you're like sitting on her boot while you're swapping things.
Oh yes, yeah, that's a good foot.
I literally just leave my foot there while I'm cutting because I'm not calling attention to myself as long as I don't need to move. He's fine there, and I'm gonna cut the.
You and Scrub both look at him and then look at each other,
So
then go back to cutting.
I'm holding the pot that I really like for my helmet in my left hand, but I'm trying on a couple more in my right hand. And there's one that I really like, but it won't go down on my head. It's just a little too small. It's like for a little tiny egg pan or something. It just won't go on my little head. And I toss it over my head behind me.
Roll evade with the Bane. You're in a net.
Oh no.
Oh no.
It clunks you right in the head, and I think that you do make a noise that is audible and noticeable. So maybe that's the first time you look up and notice, oh, this is a person.
Do I have to roll evade too now if it bounces off of her?
No, I think it clatters to the ground. It goes spew. It's a glancing blow, but it's enough for you to
Is
go.
Loon a boy or a girl?
Loon's a girl.
Okay.
Scrub was already like looking at me with mortification and apologeticness in the entire body language because they know they done fucked up, and everything that happens they get smaller and smaller.
And at the same time, you see the shoulder shake that like he's giggling too.
Yes.
He's giggling as well because this is funny. How visible is your steak knife?
I notice the pan didn't stay behind me. It should have gone whoop. And I noticed that it didn't. So I look back.
Yeah, maybe it bounces and then falls in front of you, and you're like, what? Magic?
I see this net with people in it, and I'm thinking in my drunken state, like, oh, these poor people got stuck. So I have my little Outback rounded steak knife, and I start sawing through pieces of the net.
Fucking hero.
These poor people, I'll save you. I'll save you.
Roll languages.
Oh no.
So it's a 9. And so I did not get
Just chattering.
He's too drunk for you to understand. You know that they're words, and you've heard people talk before. Gnomes and people live so close that I think they usually share a language. So I think that you'd be, and you're already talking with the humans, so you must share a language with them.
And I'm completely shit-faced, so I'm probably not very easy to understand.
Exactly. So you're going to town, and he's slurring something fierce, but I mean, at least he's helping.
kind of. Because he's sawing, but my dagger would just, if I hold it, it just snaps through.
These are real thick ropes, and so the sawing action is actually helping.
Okay.
More than your straight edge, I think. Like it's not getting through every fiber, and he's making some headway. Cool. He's also like pretty strong, and he gets a decent sized hole, like enough that your foot could wriggle out. Not your whole body yet. And then you see approaching you the shopkeeper.
Help me.
You say that? You're at sword point also.
Yeah, I am at sword point.
You thought you were being knighted, but you're really being held
I'm
hostage.
being kidnapped. Help.
I think that he's got the sword over your shoulder, so that he can have his hand. Burrell has his hand on the scruff of your neck right here, like the back of your shirt, jacket, whatever he's wearing.
Tunic?
The tunic, that's right. So he has his hand on the back of your tunic, and he's just resting his sword right next to your neck on your shoulder, and he's marching you forward. And then you hear him laugh, and he kind of tosses you to one side after he doesn't clock that you've asked for help. But he's, ha, what's this? And he casts you aside. He says, look, men. And then you hear from the pirate next to him. And he turns and he says, sorry. Look, everyone! And he points towards the smithy and the net that you're trapped in, Loon. He says, noobs, you found us a quarry. They'll fetch quite a handsome bounty. Do you know how many silvers they're offering for one of their heads?
I'm gonna rescue them. Don't worry, guys. I got them.
Rescue them? What are you talking about? And now we're gonna have a drunken fight here because he's rescue them. No, and he rushes towards you and he tries to You're very strong. You've wrestled every arm in the camp, and he kind of tries to put a hand on you and pull you away, but you won't be deterred. He just picks you up and you keep holding onto the rope and sawing as he's lifting you up into the air. And Burrell says, noobs, no, you have to stop. They're already caught. Your job is done. You'll be a hero for this. We'll get rich.
No, we're the good guys. We have to rescue them. They're trapped.
Rescue them. They're criminals. Look at them. And he, do you have your hood up or are your ears visible? Or I wonder what he could point to.
I don't think I bother with the hood, but I mean, there's vines in my hair,
right.
So.
Well, I know
green.
The green hair, the green skin, and the things in your hair. And he points all those things out and he says, noobs, noobs, they are not citizens of the realm. They are not the ones that we are protecting. They are criminals. They attack the realm. They steal the things. That's why caravan guards such as us get hired on in the first place. Do you know how much they're paying for one of their heads? But, noobs,
what's our realm?
The realm, the kingdom, what we are fighting for.
What the king's not dumb. That's rude.
Well, the king's dead, but that's besides the point. That's noobs, you know what a bounty is, yes?
Bounty? Like the dryer sheets?
Noobs, what are you talking about?
What's a dryer sheet?
What's a dryer?
It's a dryer.
I think Loon, you're like.
I don't know. I found it in the garbage.
I don't understand this
really
language.
Nice.
And he's just gives you a quizzical look, and he says, "Noobs, you have to stop. If they get away, then how will we?" And you see that slip of the mask again, and this real ugly, clever look ripples across his face, and says, "Noobs, can I borrow that knife for a second?"
Sure. You know.
And he says, "I think that your sawing's given me an idea."
That's me. I'm the idea man.
And he looks at you, Loon, and he sets Nubs down and
start gnawing at the rope.
He starts immediately trying to chew through the rope, which does nothing, but you're trying, damn it. And this human looks at you with cruelty in his eyes, and he says, "I know how much they're paying for one of your heads, but I think perhaps they'd settle for an ear or two." And he reaches towards you, and the ground starts to shake. There is a tremor running through the earth.
Oh no.
And before he can actually touch you, then you all hear this like almost explosion, and you turn in time to see, barreling straight over the wall is a 9-foot tall built ogress. And just for the gravitas of it, what do you look like, or what are you doing, Vegal, as you enter the town?
She's in a nightgown.
And see this scene.
I am in my nightie. I'm ready for bed. I was doing a little bit of, herbomancy nonsense. And these fucking humans are goddamn making a ruckus. Interrupting my spell casting. So I've got a cleaver in one hand, I got my grimoire in the other, and I'm just spitting mad.
I feel like all of that was probably said in character, too.
Yes, it was!
Who dares disturb my slumber? This is good. You take a second to like survey the scene after all of that tumbles out, but you bellow it out and everybody fucking stops what they're doing. Ryder, I think you're still on the ground. So you're like sprawled back and just wide-eyed at the approach of the ogre. All of the band are huddled up in one mass beside you. And in the smith, in the forge, there's a net over 2 young elves with this man obviously threatening them with what looks like a steak knife and a gnome trying to chew through the ropes. This is a very strange scene. And from somewhere above you, you hear a bird call as the scene is like high noon with this weird scene. And then you, right here. What do you do?
So I come barreling over the wall and I see this and I just stop for a second and I'm like, who in the Sam hell is making all that goddamn ruckus? And I hold my cleaver up and I'm like, who is making that ruckus? I repeat myself. Alright, is it you or is it you?
And they all, they go white as a sheet. And they look at each other.
When she asks that, Scrub and Loon both look at the rabble humans.
And I don't mind other kin, but I dislike humans on principle. There's the decent ones.
Oh my god, you're so big! You can help me get them out of here. They got stuck. Help me get these guys out of here.
Shut up, noobs! And he goes to kick you. Do you want to evade? Or are you too drunk?
I'm too drunk.
He kind of kicks you. And you let your guard down to ask for help. And you go flying about 3 feet forward and bump your ass right on the pavement there.
Not cool, man. That wasn't nice.
Captain Burrell looks back at the band. He says, Keister, is that the one? And he nods towards you. Vigal?
Mm-hmm.
He says, is that the one? No, that one looks a bit smaller than the one that we're after. Well, I think she'll do.
And he was the first one to really open his mouth, so he's now the target of my anger. So I go barreling at him. I'm gonna body slam him.
Which I don't know if he notices necessarily because Loon, he turns back to you and he says, sorry, my dear, we'll have to finish this later. There's a much bigger bounty on her kind. And he kind of, he turns away from you in a haughty manner, just in time to see an ogre running full bore towards him. You pay your 3 willpower to the bank. There we go. Vigal, as you just haul ass straight toward him, Juggernaut style, Captain Burrell turns to see you fully as you barrel towards him. He says, oh, and he doesn't have enough time to get the words out. You have surprised everyone, but we are starting a combat now. And it's our first combat encounter of the thing. Handing out initiative cards for round 1.
Thank you, dear listeners, for joining us in the world of Revels and Ruin. We hope you've enjoyed the adventure as much as we have. For more information about the podcast and to get early access to these episodes, follow us on Substack at randomtable.substack.com. And from all of us around the Random Table, may your enemies be slow and your puns be terrible. And join us again next time on Dragonbane.